Good evening and thanks for joining us for Sunday's news. Prime Minister James Marape says a proper development forum will be held in Enga in December to discuss landowner benefits before the Porgera mine reopens in April 2022. Marape described the signing of the Porgera project commencement agreement as a key milestone in the journey towards reopening the mine.
With the signing of the Porgera project now done and dusted, negotiation teams from the state and developer, Barrick New Guinea Limited, will work towards completing necessary requirements to recommence operations at Porgera. Prime Minister James Marape announced that in December, a development forum will be held in Enga to discuss landowner benefits. And the position of the developer is to reopen the mine at the earliest.
First of all, this is a very important milestone in our journey to reopen the mine. We are true partners now. One thing I would definitely note, and I think Secretary Belli and Chairwoman James would, the Prime Minister would attest, is that we moved from the negotiation phase, which really ended with the framework signing, the historic signing in April, and now we're working as one team, not as negotiating counterparties, but with the state and with Barrick to do what remains to get the mine reopened properly as soon as possible. And I can tell you, Prime Minister, as Mark Bristow, our CEO, has told you, we are not sitting on our hands. We are actively working. We have 1,000 employees that we've kept on during the care and maintenance period who are doing all the preparations. We are investing funds within the prescription of care and maintenance so that when all of the agreements are done, we can fire up and get started as quickly as possible.
The closure of the Porgera gold mine in April 2020 has immensely affected revenue for the national government. But despite critics, Prime Minister Marape said it was for a good cause, and that was to secure a bigger state take. Almost 18 months have gone by, and it was agreed that the PNG stakeholders and Barrick will share the economic benefits over the life of the mine on a 53-47% basis.
In as far as detailed discussion with landowners will take place in December, we'll allocate sufficient time and a place in any province for us to meet all our landowners at a time, for us to go into the final details of what benefit is yours, how do we structure your benefit structures, and all the demands that you may have. Please keep it. Some have submitted to government already. We'll bring it back up, and we at the Development Forum proper will go through all issues with the landowners in December. But lo and behold, we are on our path towards ensuring Porgera is reopened when Barrick does conclude all its work that needs to do in planning the mine reopening.
Once Porgera mine reopens, it will be for another 20 years under developer Barrick New Guinea Limited. An increased equity will be allocated to a group of landowners, and the state will retain the right to acquire the remaining 49% of the mine from the developer at a fair market value after 10 years. Teklagunga, National EMTV News.
Finance Minister Sir John Pundari says there is an increase of private-run institutions in the country. He described these establishments as mushroom institutions. The Finance Minister says the concern is whether these institutions have qualified staff, proper learning facilities, and if they have been sanctioned by relevant authorities to operate.
Institutions out there.
The Finance Minister spoke of the constant increase of higher learning institutions around the country. He says though there is this need, there must be measures in place to ensure these institutions are not there to operate as a source of income and business. The Finance Minister says checks must be done.
You've got too many private educational institutions mushrooming everywhere for easy money. It's a question of the kind of curriculum. It's a question of the qualification and the experiences of lecturers. It's a question of facilities, etc.
He added that many are now operating and accommodating dropouts from the formal education sector. John said DST and relevant state agencies must be responsible whether these institutions are in line with proper standard set by authorities. He also noted that many are flocking to enroll because of space issues.
But whilst some are out there, teaching education and is looking for a space somewhere, and because he or she is easily accepted, maybe he or she pays a fee that most probably is exorbitant, only for a return on their investment or his investment for the education that she just not get because of standards that are not there, of the curriculum that does not match, if you know what I mean. And therefore, whilst we encourage, yes, we need this space for many of our dropouts, everyone have to pull together and ensure that they do the right in the interest of educating our people.
On the other end, there is a growing demand for nursing and teachers' colleges in the country. The minister responsible says this has been the case in the past 10 years. He says DST will be working closely with partners to establish institutions around the country.
The demand is still high and we can't meet it at the moment, so we'll just need to continue working with our different partners that we have, and with the ministry and department, we're working so hard to work with all our international partners and donors so that we can build more school of nursing around the country, and that's what we're working on. So,
Jagla Pava Jr., National EMTV News.
In Kiunga Western Province, students have been instructed to prioritize education. The grade 10 and 12 students of Kiunga Secondary School were advised that education is the way forward for better life in the future. Students were informed of the different requirements needed in tertiary institutions for further studies.
For the entire amount.
An officer from the Department of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, Stephanie Ila, recently conducted education awareness in Kiunga Secondary School. Despite the COVID-19 challenges and financial constraints, she ensured the school that DHEST is still committed to supporting the students. Ms. Ila advised the students to do well in order to score a GPA of 2.5 and above in order to be recognized by DHEST for scholarship assistance.
And do note that you must have some registration money available when you are going to register. So by now, at least, once you are studying, you are also working hard to save some money for registration fee or compulsory fees next year, if you will be selected, and if you are serious about your future. So upon registration, the institution will say, you have to pay this amount of money to register student, you have to pay that. You will not say, I'll apply for the help so the help can pay for my registration. You must have some money to register at the institutions because, as I've said, institutions are governed by their own policies and you need to comply with that.
The grade 12 students of Kiunga Secondary School were encouraged while they are in school, they should save up some money that will help for enrollment if selected into tertiary institutions next year. An interactive session followed after the meeting with many concerns raised as students say secondary schools in rural areas need more awareness.
Especially the officials to give more awareness like this in the coming years, to have the students, especially grade 10s and 12s, to aware about what is going on with the online or something like that. So.
Rural schools within Western Province don't have proper teaching and learning materials to cater for students' learning. A grade 12 student, Kaylin Naluwamo, said the education awareness has enabled her to apply into tertiary institutions next year. She said going forward, more education awareness sessions should be done in schools within the province.
What awareness made by the DHERST should be applied to other schools in Western Province as well, as many of the students in this province don't know what's happening. Many of the students don't have access to mobile phones and as well as internets and computers. So,
while there is a need to raise more awareness, the grade 12 students are expected to sit for the national examinations come Monday, 18th October. Jamie Harrow, National EMTV News.
An English professor has raised concerns on the standard-based curriculum and the outcome-based curriculum used in schools. He says most teachers do not understand the content of the curriculum, and this is affecting teaching and learning. He says supervisors and teachers must be better trained in these curriculums to help improve teaching and learning.
Our teachers know these three letters, OB, and then these other three letters, SBE. But the basics of it, they don't know. That is my understanding, because our kids have not been trained or have not been taught properly. They mispronounce words, they do not understand meaning, their understanding of English is limited, and they are always using top person in classrooms. Teachers are also using top person to, it just makes me feel that, we are not getting anything good out from the system. If we are able to do this, the people who are supposed to do superintendents, they supervise other teachers, like head teachers, supervising teachers in individual schools, and if they are able to do this properly, then I think something good will come out. But there's nothing happening. The Board of Management is interested in money. Senior teachers are interested in money only. That's what my own reading from what I see in front of me in the last 23 years. Then what is the purpose of setting up a school? If we are setting up a school to actually train our kids, teach our kids to go through the system properly, then people must tighten up the belts and make sure that these things are done properly. Supervision is there, those kind of things. It's not there.
A Delta variant patient is urging the general public to get vaccinated and protect life. Speaking on his sick bed, the 69-year-old said COVID is real and it has been a painful era for him. He says following COVID measures is crucial as the third wave is experienced around the country, with cases climbing and death rates frightening.
69-year-old Gabina Diari is from Kemabolo village in Central's Rigo district. He is currently housed at the Tarama Aquatic Center managed by St. John Ambulance Services. He says COVID is real and it's been a painful experience for him and his family.
This is real. My New Papua New Guineans, Port Moresby residents, Central Province residents, this is real. Delta variant is real and it's spreading like wildfire. Let us do the right thing, take our own lives, and guard our own lives with our own lives.
Diari is among other 40 patients housed at the TAC Isolation Center. He said COVID has placed him in an awkward living condition and is very challenging. He says his recovery has speed up due to the care by the host of the isolation center.
There are patients who are complaining and in agony, in pain, and shortness of breath, and the staff, Damien and Corey and Carl and everyone, sisters, nurses, doctors, come very humbly, low, and assist all of us. It brought tears into my eyes. I got shots of a lot of these things. I literally cried. If I were in maybe another place, this care would not be there. Thank you. That's why I call them St. John's Ambulance, the champion people carers.
He also emphasized on vaccination. Diari said while many have their say about the effects and risk of the vaccine, he says protecting one's life is paramount given the increase in cases and death toll climbing constantly.
General public, please, if you are listening out there and through this interview, please, there is no better way to keep your life and keeping alive, and that is go to a care center, vaccination center, and get yourself vaccinated.
Among his pastime during recovery, the 16-year-old is planning a major fundraiser drive to help support St. John's Ambulance during this pandemic. Jack Lepauve Jr., National EMTV News.
Madang Provincial Health Authority is scaling down on its patient care services due to adverse cumulative effect of the coronavirus. In a notice to the hospital staff and public in Madang, Acting Director of the Curative Health Services Dr. Sammy Thomas said while only emergency cases will be attended to, all outpatients will be referred back to their local clinics. Former Prime Minister and leader of PNC, Peter ONeill, says the pandemic has strangled the well-being of the country. In an interview with EMTV News, he spoke of the urgent decisions leaders should take to improve the health and wealth of the nation. ONeill said it may take a while under these circumstances, but with better planning and financial support, things can turn around.
Education has collapsed. The health system has collapsed. Employment sector has collapsed. Business sector has collapsed. So it is not over yet. COVID is going to continue to get a third wave or even more coming. The economy, no one's going to invest for the next 8 to 12 months. Nobody. So that means no new foreign direct investment in the country. Simply that means that no more jobs for Papua New Guineans. So we just need to be aware that these things are happening in our country and don't take things for granted. That we have the land at home. We've got a house line. That's why we are safe. No, it is not. Everybody is running out of their ability to look after themselves. And that is a dangerous path to take for our country. So, but we can work together. It'll take some time. I want to assure our people, not all is lost. We have the greatest opportunity in this country. We can be able to rescue the country if we have the right policies.
You're watching National EMTV News. When we come back, we'll bring you this week's A Closer Look. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. A COVID-19 statistics update this week from PNG's National COVID-19 Control Centre shows total confirmed case numbers have soared past the 24,000 mark, with just under 20,000 recovered cases and the death toll almost reaching 300. This clearly shows the COVID-19 situation in the country is intensifying during the third wave of the pandemic, since the first case was recorded in the country on March 20 last year. Whilst the government and relevant authorities are now taking an aggressive approach in strongly encouraging people to be vaccinated, in which vaccination numbers are slowly climbing, others are either still undecided about the vaccine or prefer alternative approaches other than vaccines. Here's Dennis O'Rera with this week's A Closer Look.
Ever since the global COVID-19 pandemic reached Papua New Guinea last year and has gradually changed the way people conduct business or move around in public places, the Marape-led government has been faced with tough decisions to make from day one, and not without pressure applied from the opposition, critics from certain professionals in the country, and from the wider general public, whether via social media, through organized conferences or conversation on the streets and at homes. The Marape government and relevant authorities such as the COVID-19 National Control Centre, the National Department of Health and provincial health authorities have been working together with the aim of stopping the spread and infection of the deadly virus in the country, strongly encouraging people to take the vaccine, although the Prime Minister said in Parliament this week vaccination still remains voluntary.
Facts and statistics must assist common sense and decisions that we make in our country. Whilst we choose at the national level not to encroach into people's personal preference of vaccine, but at a level where we operate, we encourage people. Vaccines are available. In fact, our country was amongst the first to have vaccines in our medical system. Yet we choose not to be vaccinated. We encourage people to look at vaccine as a safety tool to ensure you are equipped.
When COVID-19 vaccines became available and COVID-19 variants like Alpha, Beta and Delta also emerged in various countries at the beginning of this year, Papua New Guineans got caught up in the dilemma of whether to accept COVID-19 vaccination or not in the backdrop of a strong Christian society. However, this has gradually improved over time, with some people deciding to get tested or be vaccinated, with queues piling up lately at designated locations around the country. Central Province launched their vaccination campaign yesterday at Gaire village, enabling many to take the vaccine. Compared to other countries, PNG still has a very low vaccination rate in terms of its population. After a spike in the number of cases and deaths recorded earlier this year, there seemed to have been a period of silence for the pandemic in the country, with less numbers of cases and deaths recorded daily relating to COVID-19. Things seem to have improved, but this led to what most leaders regrettably call a period of complacency.
Commentary against issues like we are super Melanesian race, now sort of gene super prone to resist COVID-19. All these sort of things have been going on for the last 1 year. By the grace of God, we've been spared sort of the travesty of what happened in India and other places. It's now catching up on us. Just to impress on us, we all need to step up.
Soon after the complacency period, with major events seeing mass numbers of people gathering in various parts of the country, a significant surge in cases and deaths was reported in Goroka, Eastern Highlands Province, sparking threats especially to neighbouring Highlands provinces. Similar spikes in case numbers and deaths have also been experienced lately in the main centres of Lae, Mount Hagen, Madang and the capital Port Moresby. Eastern Highlands and Western Highlands provinces have declared lockdowns in recent weeks to prevent further transmission and infection between provincial borders. Other Highlands provinces who share the same highway are on high alert, ramping up on testing and vaccination efforts. Shortage in oxygen and health workers at major hospitals has also become a concern. Looking at provincial tallies based on information from the National Control Centre this week, the National Capital District has the highest number of recorded cases and deaths, followed by provinces like Western Highlands and Eastern Highlands after the latest spikes. This subsequently became a hot topic on the floor of Parliament when it resumed for a 3-day sitting from Tuesday to Thursday this week, with a few MPs also sharing their near-death experiences with COVID-19 in recent months.
Shortage of oxygen in Eastern Highlands and also in most of the hospitals throughout the country. And also the beds are overcrowding. My supplementary is this, Mr. Speaker. What have you done as the Health Minister to prepare the country for such situation? Where have all the COVID funds gone to?
Question Blomia Molsem. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, outlaws at 245 ladai. Amasla all sladai am all fully vaccinated. Now still diet. Na amasla only no kiss infection or then only die. My biggest question is this, Mr. Speaker. How did Delta variant hit Eastern Highlands? I don't know how I'm coming Central Province from. But within the month of September, just weeks before September 16th celebration or Goroka Show, within this month, a week before that, we were hit out by this COVID-19.
The community transmission that's happening right now is due to huge gatherings within our country, and we have the evidence that after the funeral of Sir Michael Thomas Amari, the spikes went up. After the gatherings in Goroka, the spikes went up. So we have evidence that the community transmission is done when there's huge gatherings. The second question is, one of the questions is about the treatment. There is no treatment for the COVID-19 Delta variant.
PNG's premier research institutions, such as the PNG Institute of Medical Research and the National Research Institute, have supported the government's decision to roll out COVID-19 vaccines in PNG, with the PNG IMR recently making reference to AstraZeneca, saying there is overwhelming evidence that the COVID-19 vaccine has undergone rigorous testing in various clinical trials and in populations that have received the vaccines. Adverse effects monitoring has been proven to meet internationally agreed benchmarks for safety and efficacy or the ability to protect from disease. Other vaccines in use in the country at present have also been given similar approval and support by health authorities.
COVID's come in waves, hasn't it? It's come in this first wave that we saw in the beginning in 2020. And then we had another wave in August, and we had another wave in April this year. But now we're faced with this Delta strain, which is much more virulent and much more contagious. And we're seeing more people present to hospital, and sadly, we're seeing more people pass away from the COVID disease.
It prevents people from getting critically ill, it prevents people from being hospitalized, and it prevents people from getting severely ill, and it prevents people from dying. So even if you are vaccinated, if we don't achieve the 70 to 80% coverage of vaccinating our people, we will not. That's when you achieve herd immunity. We are not there yet. So even if you are vaccinated, you still have to wear your mask, you still have to hand sanitize, and you still have to physical distance. And let me also give this advice to people who have not made up their mind. Please get your vaccines.
Given that it is also spiritually and socially related, various church groups in the country have been split on the issue of vaccination. Some Christian professional groups have also raised concerns on the no jab, no job policy, so as some workers' groups protesting. The PNG Health Workers Christian Fellowship held a week-long conference at Kujip Hospital Compound, Juwaka Province last month, having discussions on various issues, including COVID-19. President Rachel Poyer briefly shared her views on it.
Your God will protect you because God protects His own. But those of you feel that you wanna, we support you as well because you have the free will to choose. Some of us have already laid our life because we have come through cancer, we have come through polio, all kinds of sicknesses has bumped us. We work in the hospital, we touch those things. But God protected us. And we believe that in COVID-19, He still protects us.
Other professional groups have also raised concerns on the enforcement of the vaccine on employees in the private and government sectors, describing it as unfair and is a violation of their human rights. The Ombudsman Commission has also provided the opportunity for affected employees to submit complaints to their office if they feel being treated unfairly through vaccination-related issues. Government MPs had a vigorous debate over this in Parliament this week during grievances debate, with government maintaining its position to ramp up its vaccination rollout in the country to enable normal business to return at the earliest and also fully open up international borders, which is also the intention of other countries around the world, particularly major economies. Authorities say this is also aimed at providing workplace safety and some form of immunity against COVID-19 severe disease. PNG has a very low rate of immunization and vaccination from the past, not only for COVID-19 currently, but also for measles, polio, hepatitis B, and others. It has some of the lowest rates in the world. And with the high hesitancy to the COVID-19 vaccines in the country, there are concerns on whether PNG will be able to totally open up quickly for business again in the short term. Given the rapid spread and infection of COVID-19 around the globe, the production, distribution, and administration of vaccines has been fast-tracked. In PNG, the lack of awareness on the vaccines has also been identified as a factor to the high hesitancy rate among the PNG population.
Though we are saying if the frontliners should be getting vaccinated, but like, what about our immune system inside us already, God-given immune system that is inside us, that is fighting against all the other illnesses that is coming through? And that's the only thing that makes me feel that we should make awareness, more awareness to say that people should get vaccinated. Because the vaccine was not done how many years? No research was done for years and years to get the vaccines done. It's just when the COVID appeared, the vaccine appeared as well. So there's a fear in there. That's why many people are not wanting to get it.
New measures were announced by Pandemic Response Controller David Manning at the end of September as a result of the latest surge in case and death numbers, particularly with the Delta variant, for the whole month of October, restricting gatherings of people to 20 or less. This has forced school students sitting for final exams to do so under strict Nupla passing protocols. The government has approved to build 4 new major hospitals in the country in Central Province, Southern Highlands Province, West New Britain Province and Hela Province at the earliest as part of improving health service delivery in the country. Other health infrastructure have also been promised for the long term. So vaccination numbers slowly rise significantly amidst some still unsure of their choices, whilst others in remote parts of the country remain unreached by vaccine supplies and awareness messages. How soon can PNG open its borders and allow economic activity to be fully functional again? And what is the best approach for the country's pandemic response? These questions and more will have to be dealt with by the government and its stakeholders in the months ahead.
Chukai Sports is next. All the details after the break.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. Central Dabari's Agarobe 9 scheduled to kick off next month will proceed as planned. The tournament, running into its second year, will be played in the different districts in the province from the 9th to the 11th of November. Suli with more.
The inaugural Agarobe 9s, officiated by the Central Dabari's franchise, is currently in its awareness phase. Dabari's program coordinator Indy Verena says the tournament will kick off on the first week of November as scheduled.
Agarobe 9s is currently in the awareness stages now. We've sent out the messages to all the zone coordinators, the 12 zone coordinators, and the work is currently in progress. With awareness going, we are scheduled to kick off on the 9th to the 14th of November.
This is the second year the tournament will be hosted. Dabaris have identified 12 zones in the respective districts where the games will be played. Considering the current situation, Dabaris officials will host a meeting with each of the zone coordinators to come up with a final decision of the Agarobe 9s in compliance with COVID-19 measures.
Going towards the end of October, I'll have a brief with all my coordinators and then see what the progress is like, and then we should make more decisions after that meeting.
Meanwhile, registration fee is 350 kina and is open to those teams interested to participate in the tournament.
But so far so good. Few teams are beginning to register.
Suli, Chukai Sports.
And that ends Chukai Sports, with the details coming up next.
Chukai Sports. Chukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
Well, look at the weather forecast in the southern region. Only fine, although cloudy in Port Moresby and cloudy with a few showers in Popondetta.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Sunday, 17th of October 2021. Until next time, pleasant viewing, be safe and good night.